Alright, so I just finished Iron Man 1. Um, this was the first of them to come out, and it's interesting because, like I was saying with the last video, with Captain America, you have probably the most believable setup until they start introducing all the sci-fi crazy elements. And with this one, it starts much the same way. It's a very believable, very real-world setup, and starts to, obviously take further and further steps away from that as it goes. Anyway, sorry, that's very distracting. What I find interesting about it, though, is that it manages to have very good political commentary in the beginning, with the whole the terrorist aspects, the fact that it's in Afghanistan, about the first half hour to maybe even hour of the movie is all political commentary on what's going on in the Middle East and a lot of the problems people have with that stuff, and that's very understandable. Robert Downey Jr. is absolutely fantastic, and oh wait, I'm sorry, I got distracted by focusing on the camera. Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic. What I was getting at is it's very politically charged commentary, and then once he's out of the cave, once he's saved himself, it's got a little bit in there, and no one should be making weapons, no one should be profiting from death, and they did a very good job of portraying the character arc in Tony Stark in that. But the political commentary starts to dwindle off and just becomes more of a character story instead of a commentary on other things, which is fine because it's fantastic character work, which is what I was getting at with Robert Downey Jr. Just absolute fantastic job portraying the character of Tony Stark, a character I never cared about, barely even heard of before, watching this movie. I'd heard of him, but I hadn't really paid much attention. It did a really good job. I really do enjoy this movie. It's, aside from Avengers, this might just be my favorite of the series leading up to it. I'm not really sure. I guess I'll make a decision on that by the end of the day. Now, what I found interesting about Tony Stark was the way in which he was so reckless in this film and testing the stuff. I mean, some of the greatest comedic moments happen because he's hurting himself. When he's testing out the armor, him basically doing a backflip because he's testing the thrusters, and him falling on his car after he does the first test flight, and it looks like he almost breaks his arm testing out the repulsor technology for the first time. And just, wow, great character stuff, because you can see he doesn't care about himself anymore at that point. I mean, he portrays himself like he does, but you get the impression that he's keeping up an act. That scene, the best scene in the movie to me, is when he's sitting there tightening something on the robotic arm as he's wearing it and watching the news coverage of the village that his doctor friend was from that is now being attacked by the terrorists that kidnapped him. That was, wow, like the drive and the determination and the dropping of ego that happened at that point was incredibly impressive, not only from a writing standpoint, not only from a technical standpoint with everything that they had going on, blending live action effects with digital effects with, the score, just fantastic scene. Really gets at it at all points that I love to watch at, and it's, best acting in the movie that Robert Downey Jr. does, which is saying something because he's A-game here. I think that's all I have to say about it for right now. The cameo, or not the cameo, the stinger or the Easter egg scene for Avengers is about to come up in a little bit, and I remember being in the theaters and being very excited when I first saw that. That was very cool. I had no idea that was going to happen, and I was really quite impressed. It's pretty awesome that they seeded it and that they actually managed to pull it off so that we could have this right here. This. Um, hmm. I don't think there's anything else I really want to get out. Major complaints, I guess, with it would probably. This is the movie I have the least to complain about. Like, I don't have any big significant problems with this one, except that they could have probably done a better job of communicating. Not communicating. The struggle that he was feeling in the cave. They reduce it to one scene where his doctor, friend, whatever you want to call him, is telling him that you only have a week to live. What are you going to do with your life? Seeing what his legacy, seeing what he would leave behind if he were to die right then. It was definitely powerful, but I felt like it would have been a better movie, better than it already is, if they had done something more at that point. If they had really done just something extra, something to push him even further past it. Like if you could have had some way of seeing how people in his life would react to his death, or how the world would react to his death. I mean, you definitely had the idea that he knew something was going to happen, but it didn't sink deep enough for me. So if there could have been something just a little more, if they could have done a little more to show just how big a deal his legacy was to him, and how he didn't want it to be something horrible. He wanted it to be something that people would be proud of, that people would be happy for. That would have been much better.